Hey y'all, welcome to webinar number 2 in the Screencastify student engagement series. We are so excited that you decided to join us today. And this one is going to be amazing because it's the first piece of content that we've put out that has to do specifically with elementary classrooms. So we're just going to give a second to let everybody get into the webinar and get settled. Over to the right, please make sure that you introduce yourselves, tell us where you're from, what brought you here, and we'll get started in just a moment.
Good evening. Hi. So we are the Fliptastic 4. Wait, she's waiting.
All right, I'm excited to introduce the Fliptastic 4 all the way from California, Jennifer, Melinda, Yvette, and Kathy, and they are about to introduce themselves and lead us through an awesome presentation. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to them.
All right. Hello, I'm Jennifer Demetrio. This is my 18th year of teaching, and I teach 3rd grade.
Hi, I'm Melinda Isom. This is my 15th year in teaching, and I teach 5th grade.
Hi, I'm Yvette Mezzanato, my 12th year in teaching, and I teach 3rd grade.
Hi, I'm Kathy Steele. I have taught for 19 years, and I teach 5th grade currently this year.
And so just a little bit about us. We've presented at ISTE. We've collaborated with fellow educators at CUE and various ed camps, and we just wanted to take this opportunity to share what we find successful within our classroom.
And on this slide here, we have some research that we have done. Check it out. We've done a lot, so you can see how we use tools like Screencastify to enhance the learning in our classroom. We will be touching on the bits and pieces here and there throughout our webinar, and we've highlighted some of our ahas that we found significant for our students on this slide. Check it out.
All right. Why Screencastify? Well, first of all, it will incorporate all the 4 C's. You can critically think, create digital recordings, collaborate with others, and most of all, communicate beyond these classroom walls.
Here we have a video where we've showcased some of our examples of how we use Screencastify in our elementary classrooms. So enjoy the video.
Neff's gonna hook it up right now.
And she's gonna hit play.
Neff. There you go.
Do we have volume for this?
So in this one here, they're practicing their sight words.
Reading comprehension. And they're pointing out their textual evidence.
As they think aloud.
Is the audio coming in on this?
I think it's muted on Neff's side.
Here is inferencing, where they took a picture and had to use evidence from the photo to make an inference.
And here, a student is actually highlighting the evidence that they found to support the answer that they came up with.
Here is actually a student writing, and they are proving where their textual evidence is. And then this is a kindergartner with their 3rd grade buddy reading Jack and Jill from Epic.
In writing, here Aubrey is reading her story, looking for mistakes and ways to improve it.
And here's them actually proving their writing. They were using it as reading comprehension and writing as well.
And in math, I use Google Drawings and just set up the problem for the student, and they're showing their understanding through the image here or through the video.
Here's students proving their learning about fractions, how they know one is greater than or less than.
Here, a student is multiplying by a power of 10 and explaining and teaching it.
Here, a student is using their Google Slides that they put together on rounding by tens, and she's explaining how she knows 47 is rounded.
And here's some more rounding. A student, again, with Google Drawings is showing midpoint and how a number would round up or stay the same. And in this video, we're actually using Brain Pop. They created a Make a Movie and Screencastify so that they can share with their peers.
App Smash.
Mm-hmm.
And on this one, they created a Google site in which they were learning about each other's cultures. So then they recorded it. And here they use Google Earth to tell us about the landforms that they learned from our text. And on this one, they're teaching us their forces of motion slides and going through it, narrating using slides and notes. Here, a YouTube video, they narrated over the video telling us about the phenomena.
And then again, Brain Pop's Make a Movie. They created their movie and are screencastifying the final product. So again, to share with their peers.
And here's examples of many ways that we've used tutorials to help in either with students, teachers, our colleagues, parents, to show everyone how to log on to different sites, showing students or teachers. Again, students can make these and share with their peers, or lower, let's say a third grade class could share with their kindergarten buddies. And so they know how to log on to different websites that our school provides.
Here I was showing other teachers how to use Fluency to grade forms quizzes.
And in this shot, I was showing students how to add content to their student portfolios.
And so much more.
On this one, here's just an example. The first day of school, they created all about me slides, and then they were going through it using Screencastify to share with others.
Here a student is showing other kids how to log into Prodigy and the basics.
And this is a student demonstrating how to code using this code.org. Yeah. And here's just screencastifying tasks that students are supposed to do throughout the day.
The link to our video will also be at the end of our presentation.
Yeah, we're not sure if the audio came out, but.
All right. Well, now we're going to go through different subjects and ways that you can use Screencastify in your own classroom.
Okay, so we started off our video with reading fluency, where students can model, teachers can model the correct way for, to model for the students what we expect for tone, expression, as well as it provides a homeschool connection where the student has somebody to actually read with them at home. And as you saw in our video, where the student is actually timing themselves and they are using a timer. There's also a way where you could use the built-in timer on Screencastify, but it gives students as well as teachers the chance to reflect and monitor on student progress. A personal takeaway from this is I was able to see a student's speech difficulties. It was a higher student in my class. I never really saw the errors that he was making when we talked in the classroom, but re-listening to the video, I was able to then share out the video with our speech teacher, and she was able to analyze the video and then pull him in for assessment. It can also be used for other stakeholders, including IEPs, parent-teacher, parent conferences, as well as other colleagues when you're really not sure of what you're seeing.
One of the video clips, there was a student was just reading a passage, and with that passage came the numbers that went along with the amount of words. And so students can just take a look and read from the passage and time themselves and monitor how many words per minute they've read and just reflect on that, and then go back to it again. All right, so next we're going to cover using Screencastify for reading comprehension. So one way teachers can do this is just modeling strategies, modeling how they think aloud or think through problems. So for instance, context clues. So teachers can model how they would use context clues around an unfamiliar word and how they would determine the meaning of that word. Another way is through chunk summarizing. So the teacher would model this by reading from a passage, stopping to summarize what they have read. And comprehension strategies like races just show how they would find textual evidence to support an answer, and even modeling test-taking strategies, so eliminating answers and things like that. And reading comprehension, using Screencastify for students, as far as reading comprehension goes, they can demonstrate using the highlighter tool in Screencastify and show the evidence from the text that supports their answer. They can show how they would chunk summarize a reading passage, and they can even draw out parts of the story, so they can show their understanding of a story by using the drawing tools in Screencastify. And then, of course, they can peer check each other and offer constructive criticism based on what their peers have, the videos that their peers have recorded.
And you know, ladies, we don't have enough time in the day to read with all our students all the time. So this is really important because we can watch these videos and we can see where they're struggling and where they need help.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a very good tool because you just don't have enough time in the day to cover everything and to see where your kids are. And this definitely gives you a good glimpse into that.
The Gary the Dreamer story that's by Gary Soto, that's like one of the first wonder stories in our literature series. And the kids are using it both with chunk summarizing as well as races. And it was very interesting to have the kids watch their peers' videos, because some kids were like, I didn't understand what you meant by races and how I'm able to cite evidence. So it was a very powerful tool, especially so early in the year in 3rd grade when we're trying to get them to write more than a few sentences.
And races is a strategy we use at our site, so students can write constructive responses to questions. So when we say races, that's what we're referring to.
The R's: restate, answer, cite, explain, summarize. If you haven't heard it, check it out. It's pretty cool.
It's done wonders.
Chunk summarizing is another strategy that we have found to love, is just breaking a passage into smaller chunks, as Melinda mentioned earlier. And it just helps the kids digest smaller amounts of information at once.
Yeah, it forces them to stop and really process what they have been reading.
And what we do in the lower grades, we don't just have to write words. We could also use drawings or images. You could use the writing tool on Screencastify to help them do that next to the paragraph that they were working on, or as they reread, they could add more to it. So it's a very powerful tool.
All right. All right, writing. Screencastify is powerful to actually show your students the think aloud process and the drafting and revision of the writing process. And it's real life for the students. As you see in this webinar where we're kind of fumbling a little bit, it is what it is. And that's what the students want to see, real life. And you can also give students feedback on their writings, and they understand, and you can explain why you're editing something, or you think they need to elaborate in this area, or maybe you just don't understand what they're trying to say here. Then if you go onto the student side, I look at this more as a virtual writer's workshop when I use Screencastify, because not only can I give them feedback, but their peers, if they share out their writing or their screencast, they can then screencast on that and brainstorm more ideas or help them that way. It's highly powerful. It has been in my classroom.
Yeah, definitely when they are able to read their own writing and see a video of them reading their own writing, there's definitely a lot to take away from that.
I also use, when we are doing the writing, these videos, you will see a trend, maybe the same mistakes, the same misconceptions. So you can stop and use this as a reflection tool with that student. And so you could maybe small group, really quick instruction, quick reteach on maybe capitalizing the beginning of each sentence, or it might be using double negatives, whatever it may be. You might realize after you watch different videos of their writing pieces that you might see it a little easier.
So as far as English language development, we have a very high population of English language learners. So we definitely use Screencastify to reach those various levels. And so ways teachers can use Screencastify is just to model language and model how we correctly use and write sentences based on the English language. We can front load vocabulary slides. So just front load the content that we're going to be teaching, model songs and chants, and read aloud from picture books. And again, provide differentiated content.
You know, Melinda, how many times have we went on to like the pronunciation.com and like had to hear how a word was pronounced? So the kids having these words and having these slides with the correct pronunciation of the word and the visual is pretty powerful, and they can keep going back to it if they want.
And then again, students have the opportunity to practice the songs and chants that they've learned over instrumental versions of those songs. They can even narrate pictures. So the teacher would provide like a 4-picture narrative, and the student would just narrate what they see. They can describe the images using the grade level appropriate vocabulary, and even pose questions based on the images that they see. And of course, practice reading, writing, listening, and speaking.
Another great tool with this is literacyshed.com, where you can use it as, or other silent films out there, where the students actually make up their own story or what they see. And then from there, as we were talking, making these slides, we even talked about how about the students do it in their native language when they're a 1 and they first come here. And then another student, because we have a lot of bilingual students who can then translate it. And then that could also be Screencastify. So they have their own story in their native language, which then can be translated into English. There's so many opportunities with Screencastify.
All right, for math, oh, Screencastify is great for math. Talk about front loading, and especially for those of you who do flipped classrooms, you can teach the concept in advance. Also, you can use it as a reteaching tool. You can provide steps. So like when we're teaching like how to add a fraction, there's specific steps you need to follow, and making a video that goes over those steps. The kids can watch it over and over again. They can watch it at home when they're having trouble with their homework. Also, it allows the teacher to evaluate student responses. Talk about a powerful assessment tool. You know right when and where your student is making those mistakes. And so you can be pulling small groups that all have those same errors at that same time, or you'll know exactly how you can help that student. Also, the teacher can make math notes on Screencastify that can be reviewed at any time. And we all know we have kids that go to band, or kids that are absent, or just kids that are out of the room. And then you can go back and look at those notes. It's kind of like a Khan Academy, but you're doing it yourself, and kids can use it at any time. The students can demonstrate their thinking. They can explain how to solve problems. They can ask questions if they have any misconceptions and need help at a certain point. Maybe they always make a mistake at a certain point. They can ask for help at that point. Students like to teach concepts to others. I tell them to be the teacher, and they think that's great. And they can teach on a whiteboard, or they can use Google Drawings. The possibilities are endless, and math is a great subject to be using Screencastify with.
Something you saw in the video where the student was comparing fractions, that student is actually in 5th grade now. And that was when she was in 3rd grade, and it was before Flipgrid had their mixed tapes. And so what I did is I Screencastified over the Flipgrid and put all their videos together so the students could then use them as a teaching tool for themselves. And yeah. So
Shout out to Flipgrid.
Yeah.
We can also use Screencastify in other subjects such as science and social studies. On the teacher's end, they can explain concepts or introduce a phenomenon in science using any digital resource, or provide virtual tours of a historical event that they want to teach. And again, you record it, you keep it, reuse it, change it as needed, or even for those that are absent, they watch it again if you post it on your Google Classroom or wherever or if you use PowerSchool, whatever the tool might be. you also can create simple slides and use the videos or image to show your think aloud, so as a model. And on the students' end, we've had where I know it was on our video where I was teaching landforms in 3rd grade. And so at the end, the assessment was for students to go on Google Earth and pick anywhere in the world, but they had to record themselves on Screencastify, explaining all the landforms around and how they knew what type of landform it was, and they loved it. And it was an excellent tool for me to see where I needed to reteach, if at all. We also have where you can use slides, drawings, or sheets, or their own, or a different website, or their own portfolio website where they record their learning and their think alouds. And the cool way I use it for social studies is where they use Google Tour Creator or Builder. And what they do is they pinpoint the different places on the map for a historical event, and they add descriptions to it. So then they add navigation through recording themselves on Screencastify and use their verbally to share what they learned, and then they share it with others. So they teach each other about the historical event or reteach, or even share again on their websites or portfolios or with parents. And then another way we can use it is when we are teaching. So I taught how animals work as a team in order to survive. So we watched a YouTube video of meerkats and how they work as a team. The students had to mute it as their assessment. They had to mute it, and they had to talk over and explain their reasoning, recording themselves on Screencastify. That was also, they had fun doing it, but it was also a good assessment tool where I was able to see the misconceptions or the gaps that needed to be filled. I think you've used it on Brain Pop before,
yes,
right?
Yeah, definitely. So for social studies, in 5th grade, we covered the American Revolution. So students presented, or they created a make-a-movie and then presented the make-a-movies through Brain Pop, and then they presented it, or they recorded it on Screencastify and then shared it with their peers on Flipgrid. So definitely lots of ways to combine all these resources.
App smash.
And then on reflections, this is the best tool to use for reflecting for teachers and students. Teachers can use Screencastify to read and give corrective feedback on students' work, or they can also create a group of lesson screencasts reflecting on what worked and what didn't, and how they can make adjustments on their lessons later, or add or fix or delete, totally delete and restart a new one, because we can always get better. And students, it's a powerful tool for students because they can see themselves maybe in the beginning of the year and then towards the end on how they have changed, or how they've changed, what they learned, what they've improved on, or what they still need help with. Or if they create their goals, they come back and check and see if they've been working on those goals, or if they've met them, so they could create new ones. Again, if you see on our slides here, we have a time to reflect. We have sentence frames that we use throughout once they show their videos, or they post it on their digital portfolios that we use Google Sites with our portfolios. So they post everything that they've done throughout the year, and then they could always go back and rewatch their videos and see how they've improved and reflect on their learning.
Yeah, I use digital student portfolios, and I really love Screencastify. Whenever they put new content in their portfolio, one of the things that they must do with it is just screencast and reflect on the content. So how they feel about the work that they've produced. So yes, definitely.
Okay, tutorials. Oh man, Screencastify is awesome for tutorials. And we all know our kids are so into YouTubers right now. So if you ask them to do a tutorial, they will probably want to do this. For the teachers, we can create procedural videos for classroom routines. Basically anything you want your kids to do on a regular basis. If you make a screencast video and show them how to do it, you can just be showing that over and over again instead of using your voice to tell them over and over again. Also, you can easily show your students how to format your paper, like if you do MLA format or APA format. You can do it once, have the video, and then the expectation is there. You don't remember, go back and watch my video.
You don't have to repeat yourself.
Exactly. Thank you,
keep you sane.
Screencastify. Also, teachers can demonstrate how to research effectively. It's more of that think aloud again. They don't all the time get to see how we process as adults and how we think through things. And so showing them how to go on to different websites and how to look for effective research is a powerful thing. How-to videos, you can be how to log on to important sites at home for parents or for colleagues, how to get onto Class Dojo, basically how to do anything. And if you're gonna do it once, you might as well screencast it and then you have it forever. Students can create videos for peers. You saw that a few times in the video. I had one of my students, he was showing Prodigy. He was super proud of that video. He showed how to log in and he showed the basics and basically how to win. Also how to take an AR test. Maybe you have upper grades screencast for lower grades to teach them maybe how to log into the computer, how to do anything basically you can use a screencast video for. Also how to demonstrate using common educational apps. So you can have kids show how to make a Google Slides presentation or how to start and use a Google Doc.
This helps with if there's a teacher that is still trying to be a little more techie, if they don't know how, they're like, wait, I don't know how to do it. But if you're one of your students creates a video or you create it, you send it to them and they can view it together in the classroom, and maybe everyone could get familiar with it, and then they could move on and teach us something and share their Screencastify video with us. Or I've had some times where the same colleague or the same parent comes and asks me for the same step-by-step procedure on how to get to a grade book or how to get to our science digital text. So I just create it once and I share it with them. If they ask for it again, then I'll just email them the same video so that it saves time all the way around and they can watch it over and over, stop and pause as needed, and we can all work it better and effectively.
Hey, don't be afraid to try something new, because at one time Screencastify was new for us, and the more we used it, the more we loved it. And so we wanted to share this with you because we feel like once you start using it, you're going to wonder why you didn't use it before, and you're never going to want to stop.
I have to give like a little bit a shout out to Melinda. The other day I was watching her screencast on how to use the Spheros, but she used the hover cam to record, and I thought, hover cam, I've never used it to record. So I tried to use it to do a social studies pre-presentation, like they film themselves ahead of time. However, I was still using it incorrectly, and Melinda helped me understand that I had to change it from which video source to the hover cam. But I mean, we're always learning and we always make mistakes, and it was pretty funny because it didn't make our video because I went home and I had screencasted my school website page instead of changing the camera that I was wanting it to go to. But hey, we all make mistakes, and I mean, we're lucky we have the four of us here, but
yeah, using an external camera with Screencastify, I mean, there's so much you can do with that, but that's a whole other webinar. So thank you. Thanks for listening to us. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us or follow us on Twitter. And there, you can see there's two links. One for the video that we showed earlier. I'm not sure if the audio came through, so we kind of just talked over it. But you can see the video there. And then there's also a link to our website where you see some of the other presentations that we've made and just different examples and other things like that. So feel free.
Hashtag Fliptastic4. Check us out, and please email us or DM us on Twitter, and we'll help you whenever you need it.
We love to help, and we're here for you.
And we love new ideas from others as well.
Yes,
Definitely.
please share.
And thank you, Neff, for
Yes, thank
having
you
us
very
here
much.
today.
Yeah, that was awesome. I got some ideas to share. You can find their Twitter handles on the official Screencastify account. Make sure you follow them. They've got amazing things to share. Use the hashtag Fliptastic4 to talk about all the amazing things that you learned tonight. And also make sure to join us next week for our webinar with Harley Clark and Lisa Highfield on HyperDocs. So same time, time, same place, new folks, more amazing ideas, still free, which is our favorite 4-letter word. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you next week. Make sure to register, follow us, and make sure that you keep using Screencastify. So talk to you soon. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good night.